it was basically scoop central in electric this week. But first off, we're gonna start out with something that happened basically right after our last episode. So it was a full week ago, but we still need to address it. I'm talking about, of course, Elon announcing that Tesla is not going private anymore. It's staying public. So that was a shock for everyone, because for the last 2 weeks it looks like he was really pushing for Tesla to be private. But in a blog post and an email to employees, as well as a statement from the board, he came to the conclusion that it wasn't as easy, basically, what he thought it was going to be. That was basically what I got out of his announcement, is that he thought that it was going to be too difficult for retail investors to stay invested in Tesla after the move. And that's something that a lot of people were afraid of, and it was basically confirmed by Elon. So he thought it was going to be a way around it, and his advisors, his financial advisors, didn't actually see that.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a well thought out whole situation, and if that was, I think if they had it to do over again, they might decide to do that behind closed doors privately rather than on Twitter. And I think there's still probably an SEC inquiry.
There's definitely an SEC inquiry, that's for sure.
Still looming over the tweet. So
yeah, that's what we learned basically on Friday when he posted that Friday night. But we got a much better look from a report from the Wall Street Journal that followed on Sunday, and in that report, they based on sources in the banking industry that were involved in the deal, the take private deal, they painted a much clearer situation about a meeting that happened last week, where the bankers presented an actual deal that would have ended up with Tesla going private, but that deal wasn't up to Elon's standard apparently. So Silver Lake, the investment for Silver Lake, and Volkswagen were apparently the two biggest investors in the deal. They were ready to contribute as much as $30 billion. But again, based on the sources that were at that meeting, Elon was concerned about, what did I lose? Well, that's not great.
there goes all the web pages.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna move on for this one. Yeah. So what happened is that, sorry, I lost my train of thought here. Oh yeah, he was concerned that Volkswagen, an established automaker that has some a tumultuous past, to say the least, especially with the latest concern with the Dieselgate scandal and everything, would gain too much control over Tesla. And Tesla has an history with having established legacy automakers as investors. We're talking about Daimler back in 2009, Toyota back in 2010, and those guys had a big investment in Tesla, as much as 5-10% at some point. I think Daimler has had 10% at some point, and they ended up divesting over the years. So now they are not invested in Tesla anymore. But he didn't want a similar situation with Volkswagen, even though they wouldn't have a majority ownership of the company, so they shouldn't be able to take any actions. That said, apparently the investment itself came with some conditions that were never really revealed. So maybe some sharing of technology, or I don't know what else it could have been. Do you have any ideas?
I don't know. It's there's so many concerns, because all of the people who are possibly rumored to pick up Tesla, obviously there's concerns with the Saudis, and then Silver Lake Partners. They're known for being a kind of pump and dump organization. Like they bought, I think, PayPal, did a bunch of cleaning house, and then sold it to Microsoft. Sorry, not PayPal. Skype.
Skype, yeah.
Yeah, and then I think they might have actually had something to do with PayPal at some point. Anyway,
Well, it would explain the link with Elon.
Yeah, and actually, I know one of the guys, Glenn Hutchins, over there a little bit. They're very smart people, and obviously very rich with all the deals they've done. So they do have a lot of money and a lot of backers. But you know, it's hard to say on Volkswagen. Like, they're such a big company that it's hard to imagine there not being some conflicts.
Yeah, they have a big investment in electrification right now too. But yeah, that was what came out of that article, which was very interesting. So Elon basically backed off there for those reasons, and also for the fact that the actual process for a retail investor to retain their shares once going private was a lot more difficult. Same thing also for the institutional investors. So a lot of institutional investors, which are the biggest investor after Elon Musk in Tesla, they told him that it's not impossible for them to retain their shares in a take private deal, but it would be very difficult. So they were sort of telling him, please don't do that.
Right. And it's funny, anecdotally, I've heard twice that one of the board of directors, when Elon told them that he was giving up the effort to go private, screamed woohoo or something like.
Yeah, he cheered. He said that it was that he cheered when he said that during the board meeting.
Yeah. So who do you think that was?
Yeah. Well, what was weird was that there were a lot of board leaks during that whole 2 weeks of 2-3
Right.
weeks whatever it was that they were looking to go private. They were a bunch.
So I wonder who leaked the Wall Street Journal. Like,
no, the Wall Street Journal seems to be completely based on banker sources. So
the one today or the one.
Oh no, the new article that came out.
Okay.
I don't know that wasn't the board. I think though that was like a tour of the factory, so I'm not
Right.
sure. But for the article that came out last week, that was clearly from banking. So Morgan Stanley was involved, Goldman Sachs was involved, so a bunch of those people. But other articles came out, so things about board concerns of Elon's drug use and all those similar leaks that came out. And historically, there haven't been many leaks with Tesla's board. I mean, I don't remember any really in the 3 years that I've been covering Tesla. So the fact that there's now new leaks and there are a bunch of new board members, well, a bunch, like two new board members in the past. They've been there for a while, like a few months.
And one
now.
comes from a media company.
Both, I think. Well, there's the Fox guy for sure, and Fox did add a few scoops from leaks from the board. So that one is very suspicious for sure. Yeah, so it's if Elon is looking as the board, like who's leaking the information when the article came out in Fox Business or Fox News or whatever it was.
Right.
I think you're looking at James Murdoch in this case. But speaking of scoop, we had our fair share of scoops too this week about Tesla. Starting earlier this week with Tesla being on track for the production record this quarter, but slightly behind on their ambitious Model 3 goal. So we have a very reliable source that gave us the numbers for the quarter for the production for Tesla, and revealed that was Monday, right? The 27th. That was Monday, I think.
I mean, he gave us a whole lot more than that.
Yeah. But what's interesting to us right now is the current quarter, and we're gonna have people that are listening right now. We're gonna have a little podcast exclusive because I got an update from those numbers from so that was Monday. Then so they had the whole week of production, and I got those numbers too. An article is going to come out later about it, but I just got them like minutes ago, so we're going to check that out. But
you just got it on your phone right now?
Yeah, really. That's an expensive phone. So back on Monday, that was 47,000 vehicles produced today during the quarter, and just under 30,000 of those were Model 3s. So what does that mean is that in terms of overall production, Tesla is doing great. But in terms of Model 3s, definitely it's trending a little bit behind their goal of 50 to 55,000 Model 3s during the quarter. And that was very controversial. I got a bunch of email and comments about that. Tesla never actually got back to 5,000 a week during the third quarter. So that was the big news, 5,000 in a week, the last week of June, the second quarter. Then earlier this month, Tesla said that they had a comment about we were able to maintain the 5,000 per week, but what they actually said in that note was approximately they reached approximately 5,000 multiple times during the month of July. So people were under the impression that Tesla is just producing 5,000 cars a week now every week. That's just not true, unfortunately. Based on my source, which I can assure you is very accurate. It's still like Tesla could still contest the number for sure, because it always depends on how do you account the car to be produced. So there are a bunch of different points in the production process you could account the car to be produced, but the way I'm not going to disclose which way is that in this case, just to protect the sources, but it's very accurate. So maybe like 1 or 2% max off, probably less than 1% really. And my point is, Tesla did get close to 5,000 a few times, just over 4,900 at one point. So that could mean that the could count why Tesla said approximately 5,000. I get that, but at one point it was fewer than 3,500. And that was the week of 4th of July. Those were that understandable, but it was a bunch of other times that was much closer to 4,000 than to 5,000 for sure. So very still volatile production.
And we were actually hoping to see closer to 6,000 by the end of do you say August or September?
August. So that's the new number that I should disclose right now. And it's I can tell you right now, it's not 6,000. It's just not. Of course, again, it depends. So Tesla could account for the week, like starting like last Sunday, and then go all the way through tomorrow. So we don't know, but those production numbers that I disclosed were on the moving 7 days point. So there was never a 7-day period during which Tesla produced more than 5,000 units. And the last 7 days, about 6,400 total. That's total Model 3,
including Model S and X. Yeah.
For Model 3s, it was around 4,300.
Respectable.
Yeah, it's not bad, but it's not 5,000 and it's not 6,000 as promised.
I mean, it's important to put this into perspective. Tesla right now is producing more electric vehicles in one factory than almost the rest of the world combined. Like it's crazy how many electric vehicles Tesla is making comparatively to the rest of the country, rest of the planet. So 4,000 or 6,000,
yeah, 6,400 total, which is very good. About 4,300 for Model 3. That adds up to about 53,000 total to date for the quarter, which is very good, because when you think about it, that was what Tesla produced during the entire second quarter last year. Not last year, like last quarter, the second quarter this year. So Tesla right now has produced just as many cars they produced last quarter, but they still have a full month to go in the current quarter. So it's going to be a big record for sure. As for Model 3, just over 34,000 and around 34,700, which also pretty good, more than last quarter for sure. Though Tesla was aiming for 50 to 55,000 by the end of the quarter. So that's it should hit at least the lower hand, because it's trending a little bit up over the past 2 weeks. So if it continues to do so, even if Tesla doesn't get the 6,000 a week, which they might by the end of the next month, they should at least get the lower end of the 50 to 55,000 units during the quarter. I still closed all the windows. I don't know how to do that because I'm
So the quarter just ended, right? Or no, the quarter ends.
The quarter ends next month.
End of September. Okay, so we're 2/3 of the way through the quarter, and they're at 34,000. You said total
for Model 3 or
for everything.
For everything, no, they have almost 53 already. They're gonna be at 53. Basically, they're gonna be at 53 by the end of the day. If so production is continuing, because the number was like earlier in the day today.
So we're looking at over 75,000 if they just continue where they're at right now. Total cars, just this quarter.
Yeah.
And then what is their count on? So actually, like 70, closer to 80,000 actually.
Yeah, definitely over 70, closer to 80, but it always depends on how the production is doing in the next few.
And then what was the Model 3 tally? The latest Model 3 tally for?
It was over 34,000, like 34,500 or so about.
All right, so plus 17, that's about 53. So they're looking at 53,000 Model 3s for the quarter.
Well, if they continue producing
at the current rate,
at the current rate, they're gonna have about 17 plus. Yeah, around 52,000. So they're gonna hit the lower end of their guidance. But like I said, they could trend up, going to continue to trend up because they were supposed to get the 6,000. They didn't get it this week, unless there's a big production tomorrow and they account for the week from Sunday to Saturday, even though it's not in August anymore tomorrow. So